So next is a DB recovery from RMAN full backup. Now in this session we will understand about database recovery and all the different scenarios of database recovery when you have RMAN full backup. Basically we'll be taking full RMAN backup of the entire database, and then we will simulate multiple scenarios. Let us look at the multiple scenarios that we'll be working on in this session. First of all, we will work on loss of data files only, which means we'll take the DB full backup, we will delete all the data files, and we'll recover the database using the backup we have taken. The next scenario, we will take DB full backup, then we'll delete the control files and data files, and then we'll recover the database using the backup which we have taken. Next, we will take the DB full backup, then we'll simulate the error by removing all the parameter files, control files, and data files, and then recover or restore our database from the backup which we have taken. So these are almost all the scenarios which might possibly come in a production environment. But of course, apart from this, you will not see any other kind of scenario. Remember, this activity will be done by using RMAN full backup. So which means we'll be taking RMAN full backup and then we will simulate these scenarios. Now before starting the recovery, you must make sure you have a proper backup. Do not go for recovery blindly without checking for backup, because if you delete all your data files even while practicing, you will never be able to recover, and then for practice also you need to recreate your database. As a DBA, nothing should be deleted without a proper backup if needed. So make sure you have proper backup of your database before performing all these scenarios. Database must be running in archive log mode definitely, otherwise you won't be able to take any RMAN backups or perform any RMAN recovery. You must confirm the backup tag before performing recovery. Now this is also important because from the backup tag you will restore your database. And you must have a recovery catalog configured. We know the benefits of recovery catalog, why we need recovery catalog, and other details I will also discuss while we are in the control file loss. So these are the mandatory steps that you need to follow before performing any recovery in test environment 2. Of course, in production also, when you're working, you must make sure you have proper backups. And just an information for you guys, whenever you work with any production environment, remember it's your duty as a DBA to perform an entire environment backup audit. Now that audit can be done once in 3 months. Why? Because sometimes there might be issue with the RMAN scripts, or sometimes there might be issue with some cron job, or there is like issue with your backup command and your RMAN is not at all taking the backup of your databases. Now in such scenarios, if you have like more than 300 or 500 databases, it's good to audit your environment and validate whether your RMAN is taking proper backups or not. And that way you will be confident and safe that at any given day, if some database crashes, you have the backups ready to be restored. You can never say that, okay, I have placed the scripts and backups are running fine, until you perform an audit. Sometimes, someday, something might happen. Few of the live examples if you want, somebody might delete the RMAN script file. It might happen. Or somebody edited the RMAN script file, but there was some syntax error. Or somebody cleaned up the cron tab file which runs the backup scripts. So because of all these issues, you might lose on your backups, and if you don't have backups, there is no recovery possible. Fine. Now on the left hand side we have our production server, and on the right hand side we have our catalog server. First of all, what we'll do is we'll start the catalog database so that from production we can connect to the catalog. On the catalog, switch to Oracle user. First start the listener lsnrctl, because without listener we cannot perform the connection. Just type start, exit. Now SQL plus slash assist DBA, startup. So meanwhile our catalog database is coming up. Let us start the production database. So switch to Oracle user, SQL plus slash assist DBA, startup. So select name comma open underscore mode from v$database. Great, our production server is up. So what we'll do, we'll exit and start the production listener lsnrctl, start. Of course we don't need production listener because in catalog we only have one-way networking, but it is always good to have the listener up and running for production also. So let us look at our first scenario, that is loss of data files only. But to understand this scenario, we need to look at two phases of database backup and recovery, because RMAN deals with both backup and recovery. To perform the recovery, we need to have the backup. Now to have the backup, we need to look at both the sides of the database, how the database was looking before the crash and how the database looks like after the crash. So in this scenario, the loss of data files, remember this green arrow shows that the database is live. So the first phase over here is the first line. It is the normal database functioning. Now let us assume our database is working normally and take this as the timeline. That is, first this instance has happened, second this has happened. So on the normal database functioning timeline, let us understand that database was functioning normal. We had taken a DB full backup because this is a full database backup and recovery scenarios. So we take a DB full backup, and after the backup is completed, we create a new user and create one table inside that user, and after some time we will simulate a failure where we ourselves will delete the data files at OS level, which means the database will become inaccessible after the point of time when we delete the data files. Right. Now this is the normal functioning of the database, and we are simulating only the data file loss error. So let us look at the recovery phase of the database. Now when we know that recovery has two phases, the first one is restore. So from where can we restore the data files? See, we did not lose our SP file, we did not lose our control files. So our loss is only data files. What we need to do is, from the backup that we had taken, we have to restore only the data files. What we will do is we'll restore the data files, and then we will just recover our database by applying archives plus redo logs. Now what is the meaning of applying the archive logs and redo logs? While we had taken the backup and after creating the user, there might be some data which is still there in the redo logs which is not yet archived. And remember, we did not lose our redo log files. So which means still some content is available in redo log files. So when we issue the command recover database using RMAN, RMAN is so intelligent, it knows that which archive is required to recover the database from the backup tag with which you have restored. Let's take, you have restored the backup over here, and after this backup the required archive log sequence is 41. RMAN knows the log sequence, and RMAN will get the archive log from the backup, and it will keep on applying the archive logs till the archive logs are available in the backup. Now let's take the archives are not available on the backup, but archives are available on the disk. RMAN is still intelligent. It will apply all the archive logs which are available on the disk which were not yet backed up also. So what RMAN will do is, in our case, we have only one DB full backup, and after this DB full backup, we did not take any backup, which means after this DB full backup, still the archive logs are available on the disk. They are not yet backed up. So after the restore, when we recover our database, RMAN will apply all the archives from the archive destination till the point all the archives are available. And after archives are completed, it will apply the transactions that are available in the redo logs to bring it to the point when the crash has happened. And then you can open your database because you already had your SP file. There was no loss of SP file. You already had your control file. There was no loss of control file. We have restored our data files from the backup. We have recovered our data files by applying the archive logs and redo logs. So which means I can open my database. So if we see this live graph of the database is online, and this is nothing but our complete recovery. There is no loss of data. And when you open the database exactly till the point of crash, it is called as complete recovery. So now after performing the complete recovery, we must be able to see this new user and the new table which we had created, because this was never backed up. This data was available only in the archive logs. We had taken backup before creating the user and a table inside this user. So after performing the complete recovery and when our database is up and running, we must check whether the new user is visible or not. So let us perform all these steps one by one and look at both the phases of backup and recovery in scenario where we lose only the data files. Fine. Let us get into the first scenario where we have the data file loss only. But before getting into the scenario, as we know, we should take the database backup. The activity flow would be take DB full backup and delete all the data files at OS level. We'll have to kill the database instance if it is still running, because when we are deleting the OS level data files, our instance is still up and running. So we have to kill the database instance. Next is we have to start the database instance and take it to mount stage. Now remember, we only have the loss of data files. With SP file you can take it to no mount stage, and with control files you can take it to mount stage. Great. Next is connect to RMAN with catalog and list the backup. So choose the proper backup tag and then just restore the database from the tag. As I told you, our recovery mechanism has two stages. That is, first we have to restore and then recover our database. So just issue the command restore database from tag. Which backup tag how you want to restore your database. In our case, we will restore our database from the tag which we had just taken before the activity. And then we issue the command recover database, which will automatically recover our database by applying all the archive logs and the transactions available in the redo log files. So let us start. First of all, we'll connect to the target DB and catalog, and we'll also take the full database backup. So RMAN target slash catalog rman_rc/rman_rc@rcat. So what we'll do is we'll just issue the command backup database plus archive log. We don't need to give any format because already our parallelism and default channels are set to take the backup to perfect locations where it has to go. Even though before issuing this command, it is our job to check all the parameters if they are set correctly or not. Great. So first of all, show all. We can see that our default channel is configured to take the backups into this location. Next, what we'll do is let us list the existing backups, and we'll delete some of the backups because we need to optimize our disk space. As this is test environment, we don't have so much of space on disk to continuously take the backups. So first of all, list backup of database summary. So there are so many backups that we had taken. What we'll do is we'll delete almost all of them by keeping the last backup so that our disk space is optimized. So delete backup tag, just give the tag number, which backup you want to delete, enter. Remember, if you issue this command delete backup tag, it will always ask you whether you really want to delete or not. You will have to say yes or no, and only after entering yes, it will go ahead and delete the backup pieces. In case if you do not want this kind of prompt, you can say delete no prompt. It won't prompt you whether you want to delete or not. It will go ahead and delete whatever backup pieces are associated with the backup tag. So we had deleted the 195658 backup tag. We'll delete this one, the next backup tag. Now you will observe that it is not asking whether you really want to delete or not. So delete no prompt backup tag, give the tag name, it will delete all the pieces associated with the backup tag. So some might have single backup piece, or some might have two or more than two backup pieces. That depends on the channels that you have allocated while taking the backup. So we'll delete this one. We'll list our backups again. List backup of database summary. Once again, delete no prompt backup tag. We'll delete this one. Okay, fine. I think this is enough. So we can go ahead and perform our activity. First of all, what we need to do is we need to backup our database with archive log. So we are not giving any format because our channels are perfectly set. So backup database plus archive log. Okay, great. So our backup is completed. Right, so let's move on. So once you complete the backup, you must check the backup tag, because that is the backup tag we'll be using to restore our data files after the loss. So list backup of database summary, and the last one, the date. We'll just copy this backup tag and we'll note it. Nice. Now that we have taken the backup of the database, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create a new user and a table inside that user. So going back to our slide, what we have done is we have taken the DB full backup, and after the backup, whatever we are doing, that data will be available only either in the archive logs or in the redo logs. So let us connect to database SQL plus /assistdba. So I have already kept the commands. We can directly execute this command. So create user mgr identified by mgr. Next is we have to grant connect resource create session to mgr. So connect with mgr user /mgr connected. Now create a table as mgr user. We are just creating a dummy table. Table name is test. First column is serial number and second one is name. Now insert into the test values. We are inserting some dummy values, just 4 records for our practice purpose. Record 3 and record 4. So we'll commit, select star from test. Great, so the table has been created. Now what we have done till now, we have taken the backup, we have created a new user and a table inside the user. Let us perform a log switch just to be careful. that we have this data archived already. So connect slash as sysdba alter system switch log file. Okay, system altered. Great. Next is we need to simulate a failure. What we'll do is we will go ahead and delete all the data files. So before deleting all the data files, we will get the location of the data file. So select name from $data file. Without shutting down instance or without touching the instance, I'm just exiting from SQL prompt and right away deleting all the data files rm-rf second, third, fourth and fifth. I'm just deleting all the data files at OS level. So all the files have been deleted. Let us check them once again whether any of them exists or not. No data file exists, so which means we have successfully simulated our failure. That means let us assume all these data files were residing on one hard disk that was mounted on U01 and that hard disk got crashed. So all our data files are lost. Next is we need to start with our recovery process. Now recovery process, first of all, you need to kill the database instance if it is running. First check whether the database instance is still running or not. So we can just check by issuing ps-ef grep pmon. Now you can directly kill the instance, kill -9 with the process ID. Check once again whether the instance is running. So instance is not running right now. Now what you need to do is you need to start the database instance. Remember, while performing RMAN recovery, you should have our favorite diagram in the mind. If you have SP file, you can go till no mount stage. So in our loss, we definitely have the SP file. So that means we can go till at least no mount stage. Let us do that. SQL plus slash assist DBA startup no mount. Great. And we also know that we did not lose our control files, which means I can also go till mount stage. Alter database mount. Fine, our database is mounted, but I cannot open my database because I have lost all my data files. So I'll exit from SQL prompt. Now I'll use RMAN to restore my data files and then recover them. So RMAN target slash catalog rman underscore rc slash rman underscore rc at the rate rcat. So this will connect to both your target database and catalog database. So when it is connected to your target database, it will always tell you that it is not open. Whatever the state of the database, it will show up over here. If it is open, it won't show anything. Fine. So our utility is connected to both your target and catalog database. So now that we are connected to catalog also, we can also issue list backup of database summary. So we have already started the instance and taken it to mount stage. Now we are connected to RMAN and we have to issue the below command. So what we need to do is we need to issue the command restore database from tag. From which tag? Remember, we'll have to use the tag of this backup which we had taken before performing the activity, because we have to restore from the latest backup. Restore database from tag, and I will use the latest backup which we had just now taken. This is the tag number, and enter. What this will do is this will restore only the data files. Remember, this won't overwrite your control file or SP file because you have control file and SP file auto backup on. No, that won't happen. When you just restore database, when you issue this command, it will only copy back the data files from the backup piece. Whatever the backup piece it has taken backup to. So now if you read through the output of the command, it says starting restored at 30th May 16th, allocating channel aura disk 1. Now looking at the the channel name, we can make sure that this is an automatic channel that is assigned by RMAN, because automatic channel starts with aura underscore device type underscore the number. Now channel aura disk 1, this is the SID at OS level, so we can leave that. So channel aura disk 1 starting data file backup set restore. First of all, what your channel will do is it will identify the backup set which is associated with this backup tag. Now from the backup set, it will perform the restore of all your data files, that is your system, sysocs, undo, users, examples, and you can also see that reading from backup piece, this is the backup piece from which it has performed all this restore. Right. After that, it is like piece handle. This is nothing but the same file name, and this is the tag number that is associated with your backup piece. Now restored backup piece 1, restore complete, and it has taken 1 minute 6 seconds to restore. Finished restore at 30th May. Now I would like to go back to our scenario. See, we have now performed the restore data file from this backup tag. Restore is done. Now what we need to do, we have to perform recovery so that from this stage we can take the database till the crash time. So how do we perform that recovery? You just need to issue the command recover database, and as I told you, RMAN is very much intelligent. It knows where the archives are available, from where to pick up them, whether to pick up the archives from the backup and apply, or pick up the archives from the disk and apply, or pick up the transactions from the redo logs and then apply. So it will apply all the possible ways and then it will open the database for you. So we can see that starting recover at 30th May using channel, that is default channel, starting media recovery completed, finished recover at 30th May. That means our database restore first step is completed over here, and with this command we have performed the second stage of recovery, that is recover our database. Now what we need to do is we need to open our database because it will still be in the mount stage. So what you can do is SQL alter database open. As I told you, some of the SQL statements you can issue from RMAN prompt itself. You don't need to go to SQL plus. So the command is successful. ps-ef grep pmon. Now our database instance is up and running. Great. Now what we did is we have restored data files from the backup tag. We have recovered our database by applying all the archive logs and redo logs, and we have opened our database. That means our database is now live. What we need to do is we need to check the new user whether it is visible or not, and also the table that we had created after the backup was taken. SQL plus slash as sysdba. Select name comma open underscore mode from v$database. ProdDB is up and running fine. We'll connect to mgr/mgr. This is the user that we had created, which means we are able to connect to the user. That means create user statement is validated. Now we need to check whether this new table exists or not. Select star from the table name we gave was test. So the table is also available, which means using RMAN and our DB full backup, we had performed a complete recovery where we had only loss of data files. So in our next scenario, we will look at both the control file and data file loss.